Welcome to Real Estate Real Talk with me, Skyleigh. I'm a realtor, coach, and founder of Forever Kamloops and Forever Florida Real Estate Groups and the creator of Elevation Real Estate, the realtor coaching platform. After nearly a decade in this industry, I've built a business that gives me more freedom, more income, and more time with the people I love. And now I'm here to help other realtors do the same. This podcast is for agents who want to build a thriving real estate business without burning out. We talk about scaling smart and building systems so you can buy back your life, because life shouldn't feel like all work and no play. And if you're a buyer or seller tuning in, consider this your backstage pass. You'll hear unfiltered conversations with top agents and industry pros, giving you the same insights we share behind closed doors. Knowledge is power, and the more you know, the better you can advocate for yourself and work with someone who truly has your back. Let's get real. Okay, welcome to the show, Cindy. I am very happy that you are here. 35 years worth of experience that we are going to hear today. And I just want to give you a big shout out for all of the boards that you have been on as well. I think that the value that you've brought to the industry is just, it's gone above and beyond. And I'm really excited to learn from you and hear some of the stories that you have and experiences to help other realtors in the industry grow. So just the little kind of shout out for you that you served as a director on the New York State Association, which is amazing. You were past president of the Women's Council of Realtors, and then you were also named Realtor of the Year in 2009. Been in the industry 35 years, and you are the owner broker of Signature One Realty Group in New York's capital region. So thank you so much for coming on today. It means a lot, and I know that this industry is not made for the faint of heart. So learning from people like you in the industry for as long as you've been in it is really important. So again, thank you so much for coming in and chatting today. And
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Can you give me a little bit of background as to like how you got into the industry? I always find it really interesting how people get in. Everyone's stories are very different.
Yeah, so I always loved homes, even from when I was really young. And my parents used to take me to open houses. And I just really loved seeing all the different designs of homes. And I always joke, but it's really true. When I was little and we'd go trick or treating, I really was always trying to peek into everybody's houses to see what their house looked like on the inside. So I really feel like it was always somewhere in me. And then in my teen years, I didn't really think about it as much or focus on it. But it was always in the back of my mind. And I just really was like, this is what I want to do. And so I started at a really young age, and it was, I'm going to see how it goes. I really didn't know anything about anything whatsoever. And I really didn't think it would take me to where it has. So it's what I really love about the business is there's no, and I always tell this to my agents here, is there's really no ceiling. There's also no floor. So it's that the dynamics of this business, it's interesting.
Yeah, I love that it was so young. It reminds me of when you hear about people who are famous artists and stuff like that, and they're like, from the age of 4, they were like picking up and performing. Like you hear that all the time with like artists and creatives and stuff. So hearing it from you, just being like, I've always been interested in this kind of stuff. I love that so much. And then was your family super supportive? I feel like so many times people get into the industry, and because it's running your own business and because it's commission, it seems like there's that crabs in a bucket mentality of like naysayer. I don't know if everybody's heard the story of crabs in the bucket. If you haven't, you'll have to go because I'm not going to take over Cindy's time to explain it. But yeah, were people supportive?
I would say that they sat on the sidelines. My father was always bought and sold property in that regard. He wasn't against it. He was very much a type of man that was like, never pass up an opportunity. You just never know where it's going to take you. So they didn't throw me into it, but I think they sat back and watched and said, what's she going to do with this? And they're always like, go ahead, see what happens, kind of thing.
Oh, I like that though, that they're like, okay, we're just going to buckle up and wait and see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you always want to get into new construction? Because I know we chatted a little bit. You do obviously do like resale as well, but new construction is kind of a whole different monster. And you did focus a lot on new construction. So I'm curious to know if that was always the like niche or niche that you were wanting to, or if there was another idea that you had first.
No, so like I said, when I got in, I literally knew nothing about anything. I didn't have, I was with a large company, a large franchise, and I didn't get as much help with things. At the time, I didn't really think I should get any more help. I felt like a kind of like an island on my own.
Oh
And
no.
new construction wasn't really in my radar. I had nothing in my radar. I was just like, I knew that I needed to learn things. And when I first got into real estate, there were not lock boxes on homes. We used to pick up keys. We'd schedule all the appointments. We'd spend half the day picking up keys, the other half showing properties. I hated dropping off keys. And it was just like, oh, I used to put them in the mail. So everybody was always mad at me because they weren't getting the keys back right away. So I always tell everybody, that's why there's lock boxes, because of me. Because nobody got
Oh
their
my.
keys back. I had within the first year, I had a client who I did show new construction to, and I remember walking in, and the agent was sitting behind the desk, and I knew that she did open houses all weekend long. That one spot, people came to her, and I saw that, and I was like, "Wow, that's great. There's no keys. You're not." Juggling points, scheduling, figuring things out, picking up keys, doing all that. So I was like, I want to do that. And there was really, I went to my broker and I was like, this is what I want to do. I was really excited. I was like, I want to do new construction. And that agent actually was with the same company. And she was like, yeah, no, that's not going to happen here. And I was like, well, I'll learn. I'll spend the time. I'll do everything. She said, unless you bring a builder or project. And I had no opportunity for that. So what I did, but I still never let go of that desire, really wanted to do that. And I met a small broker who that's all their focus was on new construction. And I took a leap of faith. It took me a few months for them to really get me recruited over because I was like, is that a good move? I wasn't sure. And then finally I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. What do I have to lose? If I lose, I can always go back to my company or I can do something else or whatever. And from there, that's when my career really took off. And it opened my eyes to a lot of things about the business, not just new construction, but everything. And it gave me a lot of exposure to a lot of people and different people.
So just having all the experience and transactions and kind of open your eyes to all the different kind of avenues you could go for new construction. I feel like there's a lot of people who want to get into new construction, but similar to you, they just don't really know where to start. Just so that I can get a full picture as to how you did that. You met somebody who specialized in it and they ended up mentoring you. But other than that, like how do people usually meet builders and developers? I feel like so many realtors are probably like knocking on their door wanting their business.
It's tougher. It's different now than it was then. The company that I worked with was only three of us. I was one of three. So we were really super small, but it did allow us to be extraordinarily creative. Like we were doing things way outside the box. I would say for someone that wanting to get into new construction, get with someone who really knows it and understands it. There is the approach of going after builders direct. I think that if you have that relationship already, that's great and that's definitely going to help you. But if you don't know what you're doing, it's going to be still very difficult. It's like anything else. So I think that it helps if builders or if you have those connections, just like when I was younger, I didn't have those connections. So it was difficult. The same thing, but get a broker who understands it and can help you go after builders or has builders that can train you to sell their projects.
Yeah, no, and I even said this before. I'm like, it's a whole different monster, right? There's so many different things. You're writing contracts completely different than you would with resale. So getting that mentor to
Yeah.
help, I think, was a big thing, right?
It is, and because I always say residential is to commercial the same way as resale is to new construction. They're different beasts. They act different, behave different. You work them differently, but a little differently with new construction and resale is that you can sew those parts and pieces together, and they should sew together. Early on in my career, I abandoned resale because I just was like, I love new construction so much. I loved it. And I got really deeply committed to just that. And that was great. I traveled nationally. I trained with national new home sales trainers. That's all we did. And I learned so much. But then I did start to pivot my career where I was like, okay, I can do both. I can do resale. There are lock boxes,
I'm not mailing keys anymore. It's gonna
right?
be
I'm not
okay.
mailing keys to anybody.
Oh, that, and you know what? It drives me crazy too. I love that you said that about the keys because where I am, they stopped putting lock boxes on a lot of the condo buildings because they're worried about them getting cut off the building. They're really resilient. I'm like, I've only ever heard of them getting cut off once or whatever,
Yeah.
maybe a handful of times. But either way, you don't have to like rekey the whole building. It's really expensive. So they've actually started putting the lock boxes for the condos and stuff at the brokerages. People have to go to the brokerage, get the key, go to the showing, come back, drop the key off. And I'm like, ooh, like I can't imagine having to do that for every single showing. Oh my gosh, that was probably game changer for you that they started having lock
Oh,
boxes.
yeah. You'd show 5 properties in an afternoon. You'd have to go to maybe at least 3 to 5 different brokerages, picking up keys, and then show the property. And then it's like, I don't want to return them. I'm done.
Um,
And they would call me and people would flip out on me. And I don't blame them now. But back then I was like, oh my God, you don't have an extra set? Don't you make 5 sets of these in case somebody doesn't bring them back?
oh my gosh, I would think that you would. So then, now that you're doing both new construction and you're doing resale real estate, which part of like resale real estate do you really like? Because people think it's one big part, and I'm like, there's so many different components to resale as well. You could do like
Yeah.
apartments and single family homes, and there's rural properties and all of that kind of stuff. So, which one do you like out of all of those?
What I love about new construction so much is that I know everything. At this point, I know everything. But with resale, I don't because you go into a property and you're showing a home that you've never seen before. You can pull up the property condition disclosure, you can pull up the history and things like that, but you're seeing it for the first time and you're learning about the home with the client. So what I do, I actually do like that because it's like I'm exploring this for the first time. What I like about resale, and I don't care if it's land has its own nuances. I don't love it, but I also am really well trained on it. I've done a lot of work with land, work with a lot of different parcels. So I like being involved in that because I feel like I can really help a buyer and a seller because that does take experience, I think, different than resale. But what I think what I like about resale is the absolute different people I get to work with. And because I'm representing mostly the buyers in that case, although we do a lot of listings and representing sellers, it's just different than representing builders. Like they're just different. It's more emotional. It's more of a connection. And the relationship, I've forged so many really solid friendships that have lasted me for years. So I love that. And I like that it's different. You never really know where it's going to go. So I like resale. It took me a really long time to pivot to that. We gave a lot of our resale business away for 15 years, 15, 20 years. Yeah, we gave it away. We take referrals or whatever. And we were just so busy on the other end. And then I was like, then it just became more and more of a demand like, no, we really want you. We don't want to be referred off. So it evolved to that. And then, of course, my company grew, even though we're still a really small boutique style brokerage, it grew
Yeah.
more in agents that we're just doing new construction or just doing resale. And then we tied it and we kept a little bit more hands on with it.
Yeah. Just seems like it started to fill your cup. You ended up being pushed to do it, and then you're like, "Oh, this actually feels good and fills my cup, so might
Yeah.
as well."
Yeah. And when COVID hit, thankfully, I had pivoted right around 2015 to that. Okay, we can take on more. And then, like, not probably 85% of our business was new construction, 15 resale. Now it's about 50-50. And so we've brought on so much more. But when COVID hit, builders got crushed in this area. They went from building a home in 7 months, maybe, to 23 months. And we were already rolling pretty strong on resale. So that was a fortunate thing that we had pivoted. Otherwise, who knows The other.
Yeah, I like being diverse too, because you never know what part of the market is going to be hit. Because for us, all the resale's doing really well, but the new construction is suffering a little bit over here. And then there's other people who specialized in just condos and apartments because they were taking off, especially with all the new construction that was happening over here. And
Right,
then they changed the rules for what you're allowed to do for like rentals and stuff. So we're not allowed doing Airbnbs now unless it's part of your primary residence, and they're not allowed restricting rentals within strata complexes now. So there's just so many big changes that have made the different segments of the market fluctuate. And if you are not diverse, I think you're going to have a really hard time.
right.
So yeah, I think it's nice that you guys brought on that part as well for even
Yeah,
for that reason, kind of
it
like what
was
you mentioned.
essential. It was essential. But
Hmm.
yeah, it is,
I agree.
that's,
Okay, so I want to change gears slightly because I feel like I have so many questions for the stuff that we just talked about, but then at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to waste this conversation with you. So, running your team and then being a part of the women's group that you were a part of for so many years, I'm curious to know what you've learned for being a leader in the industry because so many people want to they learn how to be an agent, right? And then all of a sudden, once you get to a certain point in your career, it seems like the thing that makes the most sense is to grow a team or to become a coach of some sort or a broker or all of
right.
those things. So, if you can share with us a few things that you learned along the way for that would also be amazing just because I don't get the opportunity for owner
Yeah,
brokers like yourself very often.
thanks. Yeah, it's an interesting question. And there is a lot of, you see a lot right now in the industry where it's changing. You're seeing a lot of people going into coaching, and that's like the big thing. It's like the year of the coach. 2025 was everybody became a coach if their business got to a certain point. But for me, I can't say that I was a born leader, and I don't think that everyone is a good leader. I would say that for many years, I probably was a good leader. I wasn't in that mindset. And I think the evolution of my career and this company has made me, and plus what I've learned being in the Women's Council of Realtors, they have a lot of leadership training. And leadership in and of itself is a mindset. So if you're an agent running your business, there's a few ways to grow your business, right? And I always teach this when I'm training and my people here is three ways to grow your business. It's leads, listings, and leverage, right? So you got to have the leads, the resources. There's a variety of different ways to bring that in. But again, leads come in, you've got to be able to convert them and all of that. Listings are critically important in real estate. Those are the golden nuggets. And then leverage. And so it depends on how you want to leverage your business. If you want to leverage it from growing a team, or you want to leverage it from bringing in assistants, admins, or marketing, or different things like that. So there's a lot of different ways. It doesn't always mean that leverage has to be team and you got to bring on more agents. Then you're no longer really that agent. Well, you are the agent, but you're also the leader. And how are you the leader and the mentor and the agent and the growing the business? And so I think that's a really individual thing, and it's not for everyone. You have to be, if you're going to choose to do that, I think if as a team leader, I'm a brokerage leader, then you have to start to become a lot more selfless. And that's hard because in this
Mhm.
business, you're a solo entrepreneur and you have to really think of yourself. And when you're starting to learn and develop and grow, and it's all about you. And then you have to start to, if you're going to do that, you've got to really change that mindset. You have to learn how to do it. And sometimes it doesn't work for everyone. And some people are just natural at it. They're just that way. I don't know that I have any really strong advice. I think that you have to really, I think if you get to the point where your business is grown that much, a good mentor or coach is helpful because they can see what you don't see. Like even myself, I don't see everything.
Yeah.
I'm sure too much far into it, but have someone that you can collaborate with and bounce those ideas off. And like for me, I have a leadership team. So I've developed that this year. Leadership team that understands that are in the business here with me. So they see the day to day, maybe not as much as me, but also they see things I don't see. And I'm pretty creative, but maybe not all my ideas are going to go well. So from a leadership standpoint, you have to always think of what's good for the group, not what's good for you. And if you're going to get into a team, which I'm a proponent of, but it's again, it's not for everyone.
Yeah, I love that you made a leadership group within the brokerage. So, how I've never heard anybody doing that before, and I think it's brilliant, especially since many hands make light work. It's really hard to wear all the hats
Right.
yourself. Like, it's just too much. There's not enough hours in the day, especially if you're still selling and all that stuff. So, for the leadership group that you're talking about, how did that kind of come up, and how do you decide who makes sense for that role?
Yeah, so it had been on my mind for the past few years, and like I'm a really big strategic planner, so I'm good at strategy, but at the same time, when I have so much on my plate, I'm running the brokerage. I have two full-time employees. I have a graphics and marketing department. So you got all these parts and pieces, and I bring in the leads and I grow and develop the business and yada yada. And what I found, and plus I do I hate this word accountability calls. I have to come up with a new name for it because it's not, it sounds like the agents are checking in on them. What are you doing? But it's more of a growth call. And I have these strategic planning meetings with each individual agent on top of the training. And my entire model here is the whole reason why I did this was because I have a thriving business. I didn't need to bring on agents. I wanted to develop other agents. I wanted to grow their business. And I knew that by doing that would grow my business.
Hmm.
So that's so I have a certain plan, but sometimes you get lost in the plan. And so in the back of my mind, I was like, I need help with this. Like I'm trying to get there, but I wasn't really accountable to myself as well as to them what they had to do as part of that model. So this year I did start the leadership team and how I wanted to be within because I have other people I collaborate with outside that are in different parts of the country that are realtors in the business and all of that I can collaborate with. We bounce ideas, but I wanted to be within the company. Somebody who's here that can step up if I can't step up or if I'm away or just to bounce ideas and say, here's a direction. Because my group is wonderful. And we're really blessed to have such a great group of people that all get along, support each other, help each other. And they're also they're very giving of me in the sense of if I have an idea, they're like, okay, they're always like, okay, they trust me, which is great. But at the same time, that makes me even more accountable. So this leadership group is where I can say, hey, here's my thoughts and ideas. Here's how we're set up. Here's the thinking behind it. Here's where I want it to go. There, I could do this or I could do that. And I don't mostly say we. We could do this, we could do that. Where do we want to go? Where do we want to be at the end of the day? And that collaboration has been great so far. And I just started this year. So I looked inward and I had to look for who's the most selfless in here? Who would who would say we instead of me?
Yeah.
And maybe, because maybe some of these ideas might cost them something, right? Because they're all part of it, right? But they also have a stake in it, a stake in the outcome and the growth and the development and the pride of the company and all that. And so that's how I chose that and setting it up and how we're going to move forward, how we're going to connect, who's got what responsibility to that group and what they bring to the table. So it's diverse. My admin's in it because she's got to organize our agenda and keep us on track. So that kind of yeah. So so far it's great. I restructured a few things kicking off the first of the year. It was extremely well received, and that collaboration with the two leadership partners brought about ideas that I would not have gotten on my own, even if I spent more time thinking about it. So it was good.
No kidding. Yeah, that's great. Actually, I really love that you said that the one of the big things you look for is who's a giving person, because if it is like an I or like me thing, it's not going to go anywhere. I think language is very important, even in like relationships with your spouse, right? If you're saying like my house or like my
Right.
whatever, it's language
Yeah.
is super important. The people who are saying like we and our, I think those are the people that do end up making really good leaders. I think women make good leaders because they're really
Oh, they
good at
should.
nurturing and making sure that everyone's cared for and that they're seen and heard, even if they're not going to move forward with it.
Right.
So I do think that
I agree. And
giving
you also,
person works.
mindset's really important. You can't have somebody who's negative. You can't have somebody who's whines or is can't find their way. You've got to have someone who can knuckle under, dig down, dig deep, and go attitude. I'm really excited about what 2026 is going to bring. We're really well positioned, and because we are a small, local, independent, we can be very nimble. So we don't have anyone telling us what we can and can't do. There's nothing we can't do, literally nothing we can't do. And I wouldn't even say anything from a financial standpoint would hold us back on anything. We'd figure out a way. And that's just the way we are. And we're in our region, there's about 575 brokerages. I don't know what your marketplace is. I know there's larger ones. We have about 4,000 realtors, and we're ranked in the top 20 in our region. And it's really difficult. Like, we're never going to be, we don't strive to be number one because we don't want a large company. We don't want two or three or four, 600 agents. We just don't. Right now, we're at around 10 full time agents, and we're pulling those rankings with 10 full-time agents and 4 part-time. And so that's a lot to achieve. We're listed as the number one brokerage with under 15 agents. So it's not easy to do, but that's really where we want to be. That's the numbers not that we're always looking at numbers, but it's important. So it's our validation, I would say.
I've really thought about this in the last 6 months, I think. And I don't know if it's just that I'm in a spot in my life where I'm ready to hear it, but you're echoing the thing that's been rolling around in my brain for the last 6 months, which is it's not all about the numbers, right? Like the numbers are important, but it's also not all about the numbers. And you're like, we're not striving to be number one, right? Like
Right.
we want to keep it lean. And I do think that there is this dialogue of people saying, in order to be the best, you need to have the highest numbers. And I just don't think that's accurate. And I don't think that it's fair because there's so many people out there that are just the most genuine, kind, caring, and like thoughtful, morally direct people
Yep.
that do well in the industry, but they're not ranked number one. And it's because they are pouring into people in a way that doesn't allow you to get that high,
Right.
or pouring into even not just your clients but like your family, for example. I'm like, yeah, sure, the people who are single with no spouses at home and no kids and maybe don't run a team and are giving themselves to their team are
Right.
going to sell less than the people who are, or I might have said that backwards. The people who
Yeah.
have people around them all the time that they're giving to aren't going to do as well numbers wise. The
And
other
the
thing, I'm like, you know what? We need to change the dialogue around this because,
No, I agree. And it's not all about the numbers. And like I always say, we don't strive to be the biggest, we just strive to be the best.
yeah,
And what is that? And you can only service so many people. And we have teams here that are the non team and they're doing whatever their numbers are. But if you do the math and divide it out between how many on that team, they're really not doing a whole lot. So at the
yeah,
end of the day, I really just want to focus on the work and the quality
yeah,
and the client satisfaction because really I always said to the agents, because agents, I'm an agent too, but you look at the numbers, you look at the splits, you look at those things. And I always say, and I believe it because I know it works for me. If you don't look at the numbers, if you don't look at the money, that will come. It will come if you do good work. If you do take care of people, they will take care of you and it will come around. And that's how it works. It's just how it works. But if you're going to focus on the dollars and the cents, I look at the numbers from a corporate standpoint, just because, like I said, it is validation. That is important because what we can do with our exposure is help more people. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's really what we want to do. Our plates are full. And I would like to bring on probably a couple more agents, but that's about it. I don't have the broker's mindset that I'm going to bring on 25 agents a year, because I watch these brokerages do them. They bring on 25 and they lose 22. I don't want to do that. I don't want to sacrifice 22 agents to bring on 25 and a net
Yeah.
gain of 3. That to me is just not good. Like, it's not, it would not feel good to me. And I don't look at agents as worth one listing and one sale a year, because that's what I think. And I'm not knocking any brokerages. They're hugely successful and hugely profitable. But at the end of the day, I love coming to work. I love the people I work with, and we do really well. And like I said, the rest does come. So
Yeah. No, I agree. There's a number of teams and stuff that I know as well. And it's, again, a numbers game to them. And it's just not the mindset that I have. But I guess there has to be all types of people within every type of industry.
yeah,
So
there's enough for everybody.
there is,
And
there really is. And you know what? There's people out there that are happy to work with those people too. That was the other thing. I remember my cousin who's in construction. He was like, oh, I'd love to get into real estate and da da. And I was like, you should. And then he's, no, I can't. Like, I'm very blue collar and this and this and this. And the thing that I've learned over like the decade of real estate that I've been in is that birds of a feather flock together. There's somebody for everyone. It doesn't matter like what your background is. There's somebody who's going to think you are the best
yeah,
like person to help them because you mirror something in them. So it doesn't, there's
yeah.
people.
Never let your mind hold you back.
Yeah, maybe I feel like things usually work out the way that they were supposed to. They usually do. Thank you again so much for coming and having this conversation with me today. I am taking away so much, and I know that everybody else who's going to listen is also going to. I'm going to put all of the handles for how people can find you into the show notes, as I do per usual. Yeah, you're welcome. Signature One Realty Group, just for anybody who's like listening and doesn't want to click. Cindy Quade, if you guys want to go ask her some questions further. I really appreciate you popping out today. Thanks so much, Cindy. That's a wrap on this episode of Real Estate Real Talk. Whether you're an agent building your business or a buyer or seller trying to get the real story, thanks for being here. If this episode gave you clarity, confidence, or just something to talk about, I'd love for you to follow, rate, and share the show. It helps more people find these conversations. If you have questions or want to connect, head over to SkyleighMcCallum.com or come hang out with me on Instagram. Thanks for listening, and I hope you catch the next episode on Real Estate Real Talk.